if a parent suspects their child of being bullied, what should they say? How should they approach their child?
You start by talking with them, and you start by trying to get the facts. What is it that's happening? And you recognize that parents got to recognize that this child may not want to talk about it right now. So you're going to be persistent, but you don't want to overburden them. You know, recognize they don't want to talk about it, but you're going to try and find out some of the facts. What's going on? What could have happened? You want to make sure not to be labeling it as bullying when you're just trying to find out what's happened to the child. You're going to be caring. You're going to be thoughtful. You're going to try and find out, well, what have you tried about these kinds of things? What's worked a little? What hasn't worked at all? So those are kind of starting places for the parents.
Yeah, and I think even when we're thinking about getting the facts, because I think that's the key piece. That's where we're going to start. And you're right, we're not going to call it bullying. We're going to try to understand what's happening to that student. But you know, it's to get those facts from multiple places, not just that your child. You know, can you find out anything from the school? Is there any way that anybody else, friends of your child, has seen anything? So it's kind of gathering some facts. But I think one of the other things that we've seen is immediately parents want to, I'm going to call that other parent and I'm going to tell that parent what that child's doing to my child. And we find that can really be unproductive for you, for the child who's supposedly the perpetrator, for your own child, that, you know, using the school as the mediator and contacting the school and trying to understand from the school's perspective what's happening. So gathering the facts, and I think keeping people separate, because that's one of the other things that we've seen. You know, it ends up being, well, I'm taking my child to that child's home and we're all going to get together and we're going to have, and it's the worst thing you can do. And actually, we've seen some school counselors who will also try to bring everybody together. It's really unproductive, especially in early stages when you're just trying to get some facts.
You've got that unequal power structure to begin with.
That's right.
You need to get them somewhat equalized before they can come together.
Conflict resolution isn't going to work if people aren't equal, right? If they're unequal to each other. Yeah, that's right.
You know, it's similar in many ways to, even as we talk about crime victims as adults.
That's true.
Would it be good for the victim in a crime to be able to confront their accuser? Yes. But not if they're on an unequal stage. Once that the perpetrator gets some sense of I was wrong, it was this, we need to think about it, then there's the possibility of the victim gaining some strength from this. But we don't want to put them together when they're in unequal positions.
Yeah, I guess I said a few things of what parents shouldn't do. I don't know if we said enough about what parents should do. I think they should make sure that they let their child know that they're not to blame for what's happening. They may have some role in the entire situation, and they can change their role in that situation, but they're not to blame. So, you know, okay, we're just going to find out what's happening. Sometimes parents need to seek outside support. Maybe the school counselor is an excellent person to refer the student to. Let the school counselor start to work with your child. And sometimes it's a mental health professional outside the school who can really help the student understand, oh, wait, so what am I doing? What am I bringing to the table? How do I change? What can I adapt that will make a difference to the way I'm being treated?
And a core piece in all of that is you want to empower your child, not disempower your child. So you don't want to run off and do everything by yourself, because all that says is, oh, good, I can't do it. I'm out of this. Mom will take care of it, and mom, dad usually doesn't get it done all that well anyhow.
You go back to that victim mentality.
Yeah,
I'm more helpless. I'm more hopeless, and certainly we have definitely seen that where.
So you're trying to develop a relationship with your child. How can we work on this together? That's the thing you want to. That's the thing a parent wants to create. That's the thing that strengthens the bond. It strengthens the child, knowing that they're cared for and not going to be put in positions that they don't want to be, that they have support, and that's the kind of that's the sense we want in that child.
Right. And I think I'd add one more piece to that, that sense of, empowering versus disempowering, and making sure that the child has some thoughts about, you ask your child, what do you think we should do? What would be next steps we could take? Because I think if they're involved, right, if they have some ownership in the plan moving forward,
That's right.
teaches them, oh, I do have some strength and I do have some skills, even though at this point I might not understand fully kind of my strengths. I get a lot of my weaknesses because I'm being called all these names or I'm being socially isolated, but helps them understand, no, I do have strengths. I can think about what's best for me.
And so to reverse this, what should you do, or what should your approach be if you suspect that your child is bullying others?
Well, I think it's very similar. You want to engage your student, engage your child in a conversation that tries to understand. And I don't know. Sometimes parents aren't so open to the fact that my child is the one that's bullying. So often it's the school counselor or someone else who's beginning the engaged conversation with that student. But how come? I think it's trying to understand what are the reasons, what's underlying the behavior, what does the person who's doing the bullying gain from it? I think that's it. Just to understand the reasons is step one.
Yeah. Understanding again, first of all, their child or your child. So trying to understand where they are, what's going on.
That's true.
A second kind of piece for anybody who is in an abusive situation is to try and understand the pain of the person or persons or group that they are bullying with. Who are they? What do they feel like? What's that about? Trying to have a discussion about that again, not trying to explain to them all the time, but discussion that has to come into it. Who is this person? Who are these people? What is it that could be happening to them? How do they feel? What could we do about it? What could we do about it? In many ways, trying to change the situation to how can we help this situation or that person, not just fixing you.
There are people who exist in the bullying cycle outside the roles of those who are bullying or those who are being bullied. What should you tell children about witnessing bullying or being a bystander if they observe it, or if maybe even their friends are bullying someone?
Yeah, it is interesting because we do these workshops all over, and you're talking to audiences of teachers and school professionals and mental health professionals, and you start to talk about bullying, and there's immediately people in the audience who say, I was a bystander back when, and I did nothing, and they're still carrying the guilt of it. Like they want to witness to the guilt that they're still carrying. So I think being good bystanders and learning how to be good bystanders are really key. And one of the things that we do when we're out talking with people is like, look, go from being a bystander to standing by, right? Go to having the courage to care about somebody else and to act. So I think one of the first things we do is look to increase people's awareness around what's happening to somebody else. And you were talking earlier about empathy, right? The abuser has to have empathy for the victim. It really helps if the person who's being bullied, the target, can have empathy for the bully. I think it's the same way, to be able to get those people who are witnessing to have empathy for each player in that dynamic and to do something about it.
They need, and many times they need to be given permission. They need to
That's
have
right.
the sense that they have permission to do something. And then they struggle, then they can struggle with, okay, if this is a physical thing or if it's a social thing or an emotional thing, I could get hurt in this. So they have to have some sense of, okay, you don't have to go in and get hurt.
Assess the situation.
That's right. There are other things you can do. You can support this child afterwards. You can talk with them. You can befriend them.
Get an adult or...
That's right. Maybe you're friends with the person who's doing the bullying. Maybe you can talk with them afterwards. Again, this is part of the important part of the definition. Bullying has that continuation piece.
Repetition.
So you can work on that afterwards. There are things you can do to support the victim, the target, to help the bully. There are sort of things. The other thing that we would say is that the programs that we're working with and any of the quality anti-bullying programs for schools out there, the best ones are all about people being bystanders, stepping in, getting the whole community involved, not just focusing on victims and bullies, but how do you be good citizens? How do you support people? How do you get support for yourself? What are the things you do? And that's so there is that piece that bystanders become the most critical piece.